Have you ever wondered why candy usually comes in cute, simple shapes, while medicines can appear in thousands of different forms, from circles and ovals to rings? Candy mainly needs to look appealing, but the shape of a pill can serve important scientific purposes that help it work safely inside your body. These shapes are not chosen simply for decoration. Behind them are careful decisions involving medicine, engineering, and technology. And the first secret begins with the shape itself. Why pills look so different. You might think pills come in different shapes simply so people can tell them apart, but even a small change in their design can affect patient safety. A pill's shape influences how easily it travels through the esophagus and how it behaves once it reaches the stomach. If the design is poorly suited to the person taking it, the pill may become harder or less safe to swallow. So what is the first challenge every pill has to overcome? The first major challenge is surprisingly simple: getting safely through your throat without becoming stuck. This can be especially difficult for children and older adults, who may have more trouble swallowing large or awkwardly shaped tablets. A hard pill can sometimes feel like a real challenge to swallow. And this is where geometry begins to make a difference. Research has shown that elongated tablets, including oval and capsule-like shapes, can be easier to swallow than round tablets of similar weight. Their slimmer shape allows them to move more smoothly through the mouth and esophagus, with less resistance against the surrounding tissue. The muscles of the esophagus can also guide an elongated object downward more easily. Size matters too. Studies have found that complaints about swallowing tend to increase as round tablets become larger, especially once their diameter grows beyond about 8 millimeters. A larger round tablet has more difficulty passing smoothly through the esophagus and may be more likely to linger instead of moving directly toward the stomach. That is why health regulators and pharmaceutical companies pay close attention to tablet dimensions, particularly for people who may have trouble swallowing. Flat tablets can create another problem. Because more of their surface can press against the moist lining of the esophagus, they may cling more easily, almost like a wet sticker against a wall. That larger area of contact can increase friction and adhesion, causing the tablet to remain in the esophagus longer than it should. If a pill becomes stuck in the esophagus and starts dissolving there, the medicine it releases can irritate the surrounding tissue and, in some cases, cause painful inflammation or ulcers. Certain acidic or irritating drugs can damage the delicate protective lining of the esophagus when they remain in one place for too long. To reduce this risk, some larger tablets are given smooth coatings that help them slide more easily. But getting through the throat is only the first obstacle. What happens after you swallow? Once the pill reaches the stomach, its shape takes on a completely different job. Now it can help determine how quickly the medicine is released. Different geometric shapes expose different amounts of surface area to digestive fluids, which affects how quickly the tablet breaks down. Faster dissolution can mean faster drug release, but faster is not always better. Some medicines are designed to do exactly the opposite. Certain treatments work best when medicine is released slowly and steadily over many hours. To achieve that, researchers have experimented with ring-shaped or donut-shaped tablets. This geometry can help maintain a more constant release rate, known as zero-order release. In principle, that can keep drug levels more consistent and reduce the need for repeated doses. But how can a simple hole in the middle make such a difference? The secret lies in what happens as the tablet changes shape. While the outside gradually dissolves and becomes smaller, swelling polymers can cause the opening in the center to become larger. That expanding inner surface can compensate for some of the surface area being lost on the outside. With the right design, this geometric balance can help keep the drug-releasing area more consistent over time. What looks like a strange little hole is actually a carefully engineered piece of geometry. But the story does not end there. If engineers make the hole in the center too small, the polymer can swell so quickly when it meets water that the opening closes completely, turning the ring-shaped tablet into something much closer to a solid pill. Experiments have shown that holes smaller than 3/32 of an inch, or about 2.4 millimeters, can close entirely within just a few minutes of contact with water. One tiny mistake in the geometry can cause the carefully controlled release system to fail. It is a detail so small you might barely notice it, yet it can completely change how the tablet behaves. Today, scientists have an even more powerful tool for controlling those shapes. Modern 3D printing can produce tablets in unusual forms such as pyramids, cubes, and spheres. It can also create hollow structures and complicated internal channels that traditional tablet presses cannot easily make. Each 3D printed shape can break down in its own distinctive way once it enters the body. At this point, geometry begins to work almost like a clock, helping control how quickly a medicine is released. It may sound surprising, but a pyramid-shaped tablet can break down much faster than a spherical one. The sharp edges and corners of a pyramid can erode quickly because they are highly exposed to the surrounding liquid. A sphere, by contrast, has the smallest surface area to volume ratio of these shapes, which can slow the way liquid reaches deeper parts of the tablet and allow it to dissolve more steadily from the outside inward. In other words, changing nothing but the outer shape can give the same amount of medicine a completely different journey through the body. That gives researchers a way to adjust how quickly a medicine takes effect. A fast eroding shape could be useful when rapid drug release is needed, while a slower eroding shape could help extend release over a longer period. Even with the same amount of drug powder, changing the geometry can produce very different release patterns. This is one reason 3D printing is so promising for personalized medicine, where tablets may eventually be designed with shapes and structures tailored to individual treatment needs. But shape does much more than control how a pill dissolves. Colors that prevent deadly mistakes. The shape and color of a pill can also act as important safety signals, helping patients tell one medicine from another. Imagine an older man with poor eyesight who has to take 5 different medications every day. If every pill were a small white circle, confusing them would be much easier. Distinctive combinations of shape and color can help patients quickly recognize the medication they are supposed to take. But that powerful ability to create recognition has also sparked an entirely different kind of battle. Major pharmaceutical companies have spent millions of dollars developing distinctive appearances for their medicines. Some seek legal protection for tablet designs, trademarks, and what is known as trade dress, the recognizable visual appearance associated with a particular product. Companies may also spend enormous amounts promoting those visual features so patients remember them. Once a certain shape or color becomes deeply connected with a medicine in the public mind, it can become an extremely valuable part of the brand. One of the most famous examples is Pfizer's blue, diamond-shaped tablet. Its unusual combination of shape and color became one of the most recognizable pharmaceutical designs in the world. For many people, simply seeing that blue diamond shape is enough to identify the medicine without even reading the packaging. But being famous does not necessarily mean a company can claim permanent ownership of that appearance. Protecting the appearance of a medicine in court can be surprisingly difficult. Pfizer, for example, faced a legal setback in Canada over efforts to protect the blue diamond-shaped appearance of its tablet. The court concluded that the tablet's appearance alone did not sufficiently identify its commercial source, particularly because the product was also distributed with identifying brand information. Pharmaceutical companies can therefore face long legal battles when trying to protect the distinctive look of their products. And shape is not the only feature that has ended up in court. Another major dispute centered on AstraZeneca's famous purple stomach medicine. The company had spent millions promoting the idea of the purple pill, making that color strongly associated with its product in the minds of consumers. When a competitor introduced a similarly purple medicine, AstraZeneca took legal action. The dispute focused on whether that similar appearance could mislead or confuse patients about which product they were receiving. For someone taking medication every day, a familiar color can matter far more than we might expect. Sometimes even a harmless change in a pill's appearance can make patients nervous enough to stop taking it. Older patients in particular may become suspicious when a medication that looked one way yesterday suddenly arrives in a different color or shape today. They may wonder whether the pharmacy made a mistake or whether the medicine is counterfeit. Research has found that changes in pill appearance can increase the risk that patients stop taking their medication. And this is where the story becomes even more fascinating, because a pill's shape does not only influence what happens inside the body. It can also influence what happens inside the mind. How pills trick your brain. Strangely enough, the human brain can be influenced by something as simple as the shape of a pill. Its appearance can send subtle signals about how strong the medicine seems or what kind of effect we expect it to have. This is closely related to sensory associations, the same way sharp shapes can feel intense while rounded shapes seem softer and gentler. Sometimes the pill has not even begun to dissolve, yet the brain is already making predictions about what it might do based purely on appearance. Pills with sharp, angular shapes, such as triangles or diamonds, can create a stronger sense of intensity and energy. Our brains often associate pointed edges with danger, excitement, and high levels of activity. Because of associations like these, angular designs can sometimes make a product feel more powerful or stimulating. But replace those sharp corners with smooth curves, and the impression in our minds can change completely. Rounded pills with soft curves tend to create a very different feeling. Circular shapes are often associated with comfort, friendliness, and safety because they have no threatening edges or sharp points. That is one reason softer shapes may feel more calming or reassuring to patients. And even more surprisingly, these visual impressions can sometimes influence how people perceive the effects of the medicine itself. Placebo research has shown just how powerful those expectations can be. Even pills containing no active medicine can produce different perceived effects depending on their color and appearance. In one study, blue placebo pills were associated with stronger sleep-related effects than pink ones of the same size. The medicine may be inactive, but the expectations created by its appearance can still influence the brain. So if pill design can affect us this much, how are these precise shapes actually made? Inside a pill-making factory. To answer that, imagine stepping inside a pharmaceutical factory. Tablets are not shaped by hand. They are produced by enormous tablet presses capable of manufacturing thousands of pills every minute. At the heart of the machine is an extremely precise metal tooling system made up of an upper punch, a lower punch, and a die. This is where loose pharmaceutical powder begins its transformation into the familiar tablets we recognize. Fine pharmaceutical powder is fed into the die, and then the two metal punches press toward each other with tremendous force. That pressure pushes the particles tightly together, creating strong mechanical bonds that turn loose powder into a solid tablet. The shape of the punch face, whether flat, curved, or concave, acts like a mold that determines the tablet's final form. It sounds straightforward, but hidden inside this compression process is an invisible enemy. That enemy is trapped air. When the punches compress the powder too quickly, the air between the particles may not have enough time to escape. Instead, it becomes compressed inside the tablet. When the pressure is released and the punch moves away, that trapped air can expand again, sometimes with enough force to damage or even separate the top of the tablet. And the more complicated the tablet's shape becomes, the harder this trapped air can be to control. Deeply concave punches, which are used to make highly curved tablets, can make the problem even worse. More air may become trapped during compression, increasing the risk that the tablet cracks or loses its top layer. In pharmaceutical manufacturing, the separation of the tablet's top is known as capping, while splitting into horizontal layers is called lamination. Manufacturers can reduce these problems by using flatter punch designs or by compressing the tablet in stages, allowing more time for air to escape. But even after solving the air problem, there is still another challenge. Tiny letters and logos create problems of their own. When a tablet is stamped with very small engraved or raised markings, powder can stick inside the narrow details of the punch. This can lead to defects known as sticking or picking, leaving rough spots or incomplete markings on the tablet surface. To prevent this, manufacturers may polish the punches to an extremely smooth finish or use protective coatings, including chromium-based coatings, to reduce adhesion. So even a tiny letter stamped onto a pill can require remarkably precise engineering. In the end, an ordinary tablet is far more complicated than it looks. Behind its tiny shape lies a combination of mathematics, physics, engineering, manufacturing, and human psychology. From carefully calculated curves and compression forces to colors and shapes designed for recognition, every detail can contribute to making medicine safer and easier to use. Modern medicine is not only about the chemical inside a pill. It is also about designing the physical form that carries that medicine into the body. What looks like a simple tablet can contain an entire world of science.